It not only slices and dices for the unbelievable cost of only, oh wait a minute, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about a tape measure today. My mistake. Here's a standard tape measure, and this is a Craftsman tape measure. You don't have to have a Craftsman tape measure, but this is a 30-footer. If you're going to do a lot of measuring, you might want to get a 30-foot tape measure as opposed to a 25-foot tape measure, because the blade is a little bit thicker and stronger than a 25-foot tape measure. So when you pull it out, you want to stretch it out really super far before it kind of kinks like that and goes down. You want to get yourself a 30-foot tape measure. Okay? Now, and this one's got a nice little lock on here so that if you got to put your tape measure down, let's say, you can lock it like that and pull the end right down exactly where you want to measure, have this locked, and come back up here and mark it with your pencil, whatever. Now there's a couple things to know about a tape measure. You see some red lines or some red numbers. See, this one right here is 16, 32, 48, 64. What's that all about? See, there's 64 there, 48 there. So every 16 inches there's a red square. Well, if you're laying out a wall, let's say, and you're pulling it from end to end, it's easier to measure where the 16-inch marks are. That's why this particular tape measure has it in red. Isn't that kind of cool? So every 16 inches you got one of those. Now there's something else that I've never really noticed before until now, because I don't really pay too much attention to it, but there's red numbers here. See, after a foot, 1 through 11 is red, and then you got 2 foot. And then from there, 1 to 11, 3 foot, 1 to 11. So if you want to measure something and get an overall, and let's say you're going and we're going to mark it at the 20, well, you can say that's 1 foot. See, there's the 1 foot, and then there's an 8 right there. So 20 inches is 1 foot 8. 23 inches is 1 foot 11. I don't use that ever, but it's on there. It's on the entire tape. I don't know, you know, some people might like that. Okay, but I know you don't really want to know that. You want to know the nitty-gritty about all the little marks in between 9 and 10, or in between 21 and 22. That's the meat and potatoes of this video. You ready for this? Put your thinking cap on. Okay, we're going to read some more measurements. The tip of the screwdriver, I want you to read it. Okay? I'm going to hold this out here. What is that? 12 1/4. 14 1/2. And if you notice, see those lines are kind of worn on here. That's because I've used my tape measure so much, and I hold my thumb there as I'm releasing the tape and stuff. So that kind of tells me after a while, between 1 inch and maybe 16 inches, this edge starts getting worn. Once it gets too worn, if you have a hard time reading your tape measure, that tells you it's time to get a new tape measure. Okay? Let's read some more here. 21 1/8. 29 3/16. 30 15/16. 32 3/4. 32 3/8. 35. 35 7/8. 40 1/2. 40. Oh, I'm sorry, 41 1/2. Silly beanie. 40 15/16. You getting it? 43 1/16. 42 13/16. 42 9/16. That's how you read your tape. You can do that. You can read just about anything. I don't care. You can pull this tape measure out as far as you want. 94 1/8. 92 7/8. 92 15/16. 93 1/2. 94 3/4. I think you got it. By Joe. Remember I said every 16 inches there's a box with the mark in there. So that tells you every 16 inches, that's kind of how they lay out a wall, because studs are, generally they lay out a wall. Every 16 inches there's a wood 2x4 stud in a wall. Not always, but most of the time. And see, there's also the 4-foot mark in black, and see right in the middle it says stud. And that would be the middle of a stud, would be right there. See that? Now this one here, 64, and it says stud. Now that doesn't have a black line in front, because the only black line is going to be if that is a foot mark. Because see, every foot there's a black box. There says 3 feet, 2 feet. Now see, there's no red box there because the red box is at 16 inches, 32 inches, 48 inches, and 48 inches just happens to be increments of 1 foot. So that's why you got the 4-foot black and the 48 red. Remember how I was telling you got your red marks up here? So that would be 5 foot 1 inch, 5 foot 2 inches. See, it says 5 foot 2 inches. That's not where 5 feet is. That just is saying 5 foot 3, 5 foot 4, 5 foot 5. Not too many people measure that way, okay? But they have it on there in case you want it. All right? Now get out there and measure something.